Q&As, which is so popular, is backed by popular demand. You asked, we're going to answer. What is the recommended daily dosage of fish oil and how can people avoid the fish burps? So I got two answers to this. What are the best recommendations for someone experiencing severe menstrual cramps and heavy bleeding? First, I would talk to your OBGYN to see that you are having. What should someone consider when addressing copper toxicity or heavy metal exposure in the body? Well, as someone who's dealt with heavy metal exposure, I have a lot of knowledge on this. So there's a number of things that you can do. What are the key supplements for lifestyle changes you'd recommend for someone battling autoimmune conditions like lupus or arthritis? If you have lupus or arthritis, I would do 4 types of testing. What are the best lifestyle changes and supplements to support someone recovering from chemotherapy? I would say if you're recovering from chemotherapy, you don't want to put too much of a hormetic stress on the body. So here would be my top supplements post-recovery. Number 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the Ultimate Human podcast. The Q&As, which is so popular, is backed by popular demand. You asked, we're going to answer. So question number 1, what is the recommended daily dosage of fish oil and how can people avoid the fish burps? So I got 2 answers to this. Number 1, it's based on concentration. Here's how you can check for a good fish oil. Make sure it is a deep fish oil, that it uses small fish like mackerel, sardines. Smaller fish are better for fish oils, and make sure that the fish oil is in a 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts omega-3 fatty acid to 1 part omega-6. If you want to avoid the fish burps, just freeze your fish oil capsules. You can actually take them when you're frozen. They'll thaw in your stomach and you won't get the burps. Can you recommend a trusted brand for methylated B vitamins? Well, soon I'll have my own brand out, but for right now, I get methylated B vitamins from Thorne or Pure Encapsulations or Symbiotica. Make sure they are methylated, like the Thorne MethylGuard Plus, or that they have the methylcobalamin and the methylfolate versions of folic acid. What are the best lifestyle changes and supplements to support someone recovering from chemotherapy? So I would say if you're recovering from chemotherapy, you don't want to put too much of a hormetic stress on the body. So here would be my top supplements post-recovery. Number 1, BPC 157. It is a body protection compound 157. This is a gastric pentadecapeptide. Very good at repairing damaged tissues, good at healing and sealing the gut. I would say that ashwagandha is a good calming supplement to take post-chemotherapy. Absolutely vitamin C. I would take the liposomal form of vitamin C or intravenous form of vitamin C. Those would be my go-tos. I would also maintain adequate levels of vitamin D3, 5,000 IUs with K2 to support healthy immune function and recovery from chemotherapy, which can suppress the immune system. What are your thoughts on grounding sheets versus earthing in bare feet? And is there a difference in benefits? I always prefer getting things from Mother Nature. If you can do your walks outside, I say there's always a good, better, best. Walking on a treadmill is good. It's better to walk outside. It's even best to walk outside in sunlight without sunglasses. So my thoughts on grounding sheets versus earthing is that if you can get it for free from Mother Nature, that's the best place to get it. I totally understand if you're in a cold climate or it's not practical to walk outside. What are the best nutritional strategies to improve liver and gallbladder health? Well, a couple of known supplements that support liver health are milk thistle. One of my favorites is glutathione. Glutathione is actually the master antioxidant in the human body. It resides inside of every living cell in your body. There's not one cell in your body that does not contain glutathione, which tells you how important that is to detoxification. So many people have impaired glutathione synthesis, which is done in the liver. And glutathione is also very good for your liver and improving your liver health. I also might think about taking a gut binder, like an activated charcoal, a silica clay, or a zeolite. These binders help remove toxins and inflammatory compounds from your body, so they're great ways to support liver and gallbladder health. What are your recommendations for someone experiencing severe menstrual cramps and heavy bleeding? Well, first, I would talk to your OBGYN to see that you are having normal hormone cycling. Second, I would think about looking at your iron levels and your hemoglobin and red blood cell count to make sure that those levels are not getting anemic. So you're actually not losing so much blood that you are developing anemia. There are forms of iron that are easier on your stomach, like iron bisglycinate tends to be very easy on the stomach and doesn't constipate you. My wife takes iron bisglycinate right before her menstrual cycle begins so that she avoids the loss of iron. She also craves red meat during that time. Iron bisglycinate Generally is given every other day so that it doesn't build up too quickly in your system. But I would actually get a full hormone panel done, and I would look at whether or not you are aphasic or monophasic with your hormone cycling. I would look at supporting nutrients like DHEA and the sex hormone binding globulin, which will be in your bloodstream at high levels if you're on birth control. And I would make sure that you have adequate levels of vitamin D3, and I would check your iron panel. That would be where I'd start for severe menstrual cramps and heavy bleeding. What are the key supplements for lifestyle changes you'd recommend for someone battling autoimmune conditions like lupus or arthritis? So first of all, if you have lupus or arthritis, I had either of those conditions, I would do 4 types of testing: mold, mycotoxin, metals, and viral testing. I would also do a parasite test if you can find a good one. The reason for that is very often things that we think are happening to us are happening within us. Recurrent low-grade viral infections, mold and mycotoxins, and heavy metal poisoning go unnoticed, don't show up on normal labs, and very often can lead to the genesis of autoimmune conditions. So I would be going after the testing to find out what kicked these conditions off in the first place. What's your advice for those suffering from psoriasis? Same thing with psoriasis. I would start cleansing the liver. I would get off of all processed foods. I might even consider doing a strict carnivore diet for 10 weeks, allowing eggs and berries and natural honeys. I would stay hydrated with hydrogen water, and I would bathe in hydrogen water for psoriasis flare-ups. What should someone consider when addressing copper toxicity or heavy metal exposure in the body? Well, as someone who's dealt with heavy metal exposure, I have a lot of knowledge on this. So there's a number of things that you can do. I'll start with the best and go down to the good. First of all, you need to start to think about where you might have gotten the metal toxicity to begin with. Just like mold poisoning, you don't want to be in an environment where you're continuing to breathe mold. You don't want to be continuing to expose yourself to toxic heavy metals if you can find the source. Likely sources are in unfiltered tap water, and very often municipalities do allow certain levels of copper or heavy metals to actually come through in the water. They're supposed to be filtered out because of the age of our pipes and because of the inability to control where the water goes after it leaves a treatment plant. Very often, these are sources of toxicity. So have your water tested and try to find out what is inoculating you. Secondly, there is a type of a metal test where you do a chelation IV, which uses chelation therapy to draw the metals out of your tissues. And then you do an 8-hour urine test post-chelation to really get an accurate measure of how much metal is in your body. Metals are tricky. They evade urine and blood testing very often. Also a light technology, which I'll link in the show notes below, that you can actually expose your palm to. It will look for metals in your tissues. But my favorite test for metal toxicity is chelation followed by 8-hour urine. What supplements or protocols do you recommend for someone trying to reverse or slow dementia progression? Well, red light therapy has shown really good promise in dementia. Also, there are red light helmets that are specifically designed to get red light deep into the brain. One of the ones I've used in the past myself is called a neuronic helmet. I used it on both of my parents to help with cognitive function. I also think that the peptide cerebrolysin is something that should be looked at. Resveratrol is great for circulation. Keep these people hydrated, keep them moving. That is another thing that really helps to slow down all kinds of neurocognitive disorders. And I would look at viral and metal testing. Very often, symptoms in the brain, especially with memory and cognition, mimic the symptoms of chronic viral, mold, mycotoxin, or metal exposure. What are the top steps truck drivers can take to maintain good health given their long hours of sitting? Take more frequent, shorter breaks rather than less frequent, longer breaks. In other words, instead of stopping once and taking a 45-minute break, stop 3 times and take a 15-minute walk. Walking and mobility are the best ways to wake you up. Don't become dependent on stimulants and caffeine or taking Adderall or other amphetamines. Become dependent on short breaks and get right back on the road. My suggestion would be stay hydrated with hydrogen water. Make sure that you have methylated multivitamins and stop more often and take more shorter breaks. Hey guys, thank you for tuning in. Always submit your questions. I'll do my best to answer them as accurately as possible. And until next time, that's just science.